Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I want to talk a little bit about an article I just read by a fellow named Mark Manson. Now, some of you may know Mark. He's a three-time New York Times best-selling author, and I'm reading a rant that he wrote about it's titled, and pardon me, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Now, he actually has a book that's called the same thing that I believe his three books have sold over 20 million copies. But it's really interesting listening to what he has to say about how much we as people care about what people think, other people think, and about their opinions, and how much that can really drive our lives on a daily basis. And I think we can all relate to this because when we're growing up, I mean, obviously we care about what people think, how they view us, their opinion, what they say to us. It matters. And ideally, you get to a point in your life. I know I have probably for far too long where I'm all out of giving those. I don't want to call them the F word. Let's call them burritos, but I don't give any burritos when people have an opinion. Now, if somebody has an idea or they have a view or or maybe they have some sort of a disagreement, then I want to listen to those things. But if they have an opinion or if they have, an issue of some kind that has nothing to do with me, then I'm really kind of disinterested in that. But in this article, Mark talks about, again, he rants a lot about, I'm all out of giving burritos. I just am. I'm done. I'm not going to allow other people to influence me. But he had a couple of great points. He said, not giving a crap does not mean that you're indifferent. It just means that you're being comfortable with being different. And I think that that is a challenge that many of us have. The fact is that we all want to fit in, we want to conform, and we want to meet the expectation that other people have. And I think that there is this idea around rules of engagement. And I also believe that we're brought up to kind of avoid conflict. And to me, if you've been around me for any period of time, you know that I feel that conflict is very healthy. That if people have disagreements, differing opinions, ideas when it comes to the workplace or otherwise, that it's good to come to the table and listen and talk about those differences and see if we can find commonalities. I think the importance, especially in a social media driven world that's very divisive, why don't we focus on our commonalities and not focus on our differences? So a good example might be you meet a stranger at a coffee shop and you start talking. I think it's probably a really good idea to talk about or look for commonalities, things that you both enjoy doing, as opposed to jumping into what's on the news, politics, sexuality, religion, topics that people tend to have very different opinions on. And, the thing about opinions is I don't know that they're right or wrong opinions. They're just opinions. Everybody has one, and generally speaking, they're all different. But I really like the way that Mark approaches this, and you can read his articles at markmanson.net. I know that Melanie Taylor sends me these articles, and I like to read them. They're usually pretty entertaining, to say the least. The other thing he said, another subtlety is try not to give a crap about adversity. You must first give a crap about something more important than adversity. Why get hung up on the adverse? It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then subtlety number three, we've all had a limited number of craps to give, or we have a total limit. So pay attention to where you're going to give them. So an example of that would be, again, don't get emotionally tied up in things that probably aren't worth the emotional equity that we invest in them. And if somebody says something, if they do something that really bothers us and they get under our skin or they get us emotional, think about the energy we're wasting on those things completely unnecessarily. Again, that's not a burrito that I want to give out. I just kind of say, look, it is what it is. That's my kind of my saying. And the reality is that people aren't always going to like what you have to say, but if you deliver it in a professional, respectful manner, then if they still choose to have an issue with it, then really that's on them, not on you. So think about that, read the article. It's got a lot of F-bombs in it, but I think you'll relate to it and you'll really enjoy it. We'll see you next Wednesday.